In fact, it's worse than that. Not only will God not give us what we want, God will actually punish us and send us to a place called hell. That's what religions teach us. Many of the world's religions teach that. I want most of the world's religions teach some version of that. So we've learned from God that love is a transaction. You do for me what I want you to do for me, and I'll do for you what you want me to do for you. But if you don't do what I need you to do, I won't do what you want me to do.
Hello, everybody. Nice to meet you. I have a very special guest today. It's a big honor, a big pleasure to meet Neil Donald Walsh. My name is Felix van Frieden, and we want to have a great conversation. So, Neil Donald Walsh has written over 40 books about spirituality and how can we use it in our daily life. And he got a new book, God Talk, Experience of Humanity's Connection to the Higher Power. But he's well known for his book, Conversations with God. There also is a movie translated in over 37 languages. And now we are here. We are in South Oregon. Last week I visited Mount Shasta. So nice to meet you.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here with you. How may I be of service?
So you had a very hard time in your life. You got a divorce, you lost your job, was homeless, and then you got also a health problem. And in this moment, you asked or searched for God, and you got answers. Right now, in the world, there are a lot of problems. A lot of people have problems. A lot of people are searching for answers. What was that for a moment when you had this big challenges and finally got an answer from God?
I'm not sure I understand your question. What was the moment?
What was this for a moment in your life? Like, can you describe this moment when you were so
Well, yes,
you had so much trouble and finally you got an answer?
yes, well, you described it perfectly. I lost my relationship with my wife. I lost my job 5 days later, and 5 days after that, I had an automobile accident. An old man drove his car into me. He misjudged the distance between our two cars, and so I was in a terrible car accident, and I broke my neck. So anyway, when I got out of the hospital, I wound up having a little apartment, and I was very angry with life. Why so many challenges all at one time within the same 10 days? So I wrote an angry letter to God. I don't know what I was thinking. I was just really trying to get my feelings off my chest. I just wanted to release, release some feelings. So I was writing this angry letter to God. Dear God, what does it take to make life work? I can remember writing, what have I done to deserve a life of such endless struggle? Tell me the rules. I'll play the game called life. Just tell me the rules. And, I didn't expect to to get an answer, but I did hear a voice in my head. And the voice said, Neil, do you really want answers to all of these questions? Or are you just venting, just getting your feelings out? And I said, yeah, I am venting, but if you have answers, I'd sure as hell like to know what they are. And the voice said, you are sure as hell, Neil, about a lot of things, but wouldn't you rather be sure as heaven? So I thought, what's that supposed to mean? And the voice said, take this down. So I wrote down the answers to the questions I was asking. And then that brought up other questions, and I got other answers, which brought up other questions, which gave me other answers. And before I knew it, I was involved in an hours long back and forth dialogue. And I realized that I was communicating with God because the kind of answers I was getting were answers that I never dreamt of in my own life. They actually contradicted much of what I was told in my life.
Mm.
So I thought, okay, I must be talking to God. And that's how I had the beginning of my conversation. Now, Felix, I never intended to write a book. It never occurred to me that it would, that anyone else would ever see these questions and answers that I was writing.
Mm.
But I was told in the dialogue, this will one day become a book and you will have it accessed by many people. Many people will read it. And I thought, no, 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 that's crazy. No publishing company is going to put out a book because a guy says he's talking to God. It's not going to happen. So I sent it to two or three publishers, really to dare God. Just, you said it would become a book. And I thought this is a perfect way for me to prove to myself whether I'm actually talking to God or not, because the chances of anybody publishing a book by a guy who claims that God is talking to him are 1 in a million. It's not going to happen. So I
Mm.
sent it, like I said, I sent it to those publishers. And 2 weeks later, I got a telephone call from one of the publishers saying, we want to put your book out. And I couldn't believe it. So I said, no, are you kidding me? And they said, no, no, we think it's a very good book. It's a wonderful novel, a work of fiction about a guy who has a argument with God. And I said, no, 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 wait a minute, wait a minute. You're not putting this out as a work of fiction. And the publisher said, Mr. Walsh, are you trying to tell me you think this actually happened to you? And I said, yes, of course. That's why I sent it to you. My handwritten notes. I made Xerox copies of my handwritten notes. And he said, well, okay, but it's not going to find 500 readers because people are not going to rush out to buy a book because some guy up in Oregon claims God is talking to him. It's not going to find 500 readers, but we'll put it out because it's interesting enough. So they put the book out as a nonfiction book, and he was right. The book did not find 500 readers. It found 5 million. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying that's what happened. That's the story of what happened. As we say in America, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
This is very amazing, like unbelievable. If we think at that moment you were homeless on the streets and get this book, Conversation with God, did you thought one time that you're crazy or this could not be real?
Yes, that's why I sent it to a publisher to make sure it was real, because I was told it would be published. And I didn't think that there was a chance, one chance in a million, as I said a moment ago, that
Mm.
anyone was going to publish a book by a guy who claims that God is talking to him. But when it got published, I thought, okay, okay. So maybe I'm not crazy.
So right now you are a spiritual teacher, travel all over the world, have so big influence. Did the life prepared you for that, or grew you up like on the religious, spiritual way, or was it just happening out of nowhere?
It was happening out of nowhere. I had some spiritual religious training when I was a child. I rejected what all of the religions taught me
Mm.
about God. And so I didn't really have, as an adult, I didn't really have any experience of God in my life, not a direct experience very often. Once in a while, I would maybe go to a church just to investigate, just to see what was happening. But I, but I couldn't really stay connected to my experience of God. So ultimately, in my late 40s, I just let it go. I let the whole idea go and started paying attention to my physical life. Then I had the experience that I've described, and I sent it to a publisher, and it wound up reaching many people. And I began receiving invitations, as you mentioned, from uh, sponsors, lectures, event sponsors around the world. So I wound up traveling everywhere. I've been to Germany 3 times. I've been to Spain, been to France, Ireland, Russia, to Moscow, St. Petersburg. I went to China, even uh, got invitations to speak in China. So yes, again, I'm not bragging about it. I'm just saying this is what happened. And now the biggest surprise of all, I get to be on your podcast.
For me, yes. Uh, there's one point in the new book you say it's one thing to get to know all these things, to get to know these answers, but another thing to act, to bring it into life, to act after it. So when did you decided to change your life? Was it directly when you got all these answers? Because when you say like you didn't grow up spiritual, now you are a spiritual teacher for millions of people, was there a moment, beware, like aware moment? Yes, I do this. I got a mission maybe, or you just go into and it happened.
I didn't make a decision to embrace a big mission. I simply sat back and watched what was happening. As we mentioned, the book reached a few people, and I began receiving invitations to speak. And so I accepted the invitations. And I reject the notion, by the way, I don't see myself as a spiritual teacher of millions of people. I'm not a spiritual teacher. All I did was take dictation. The
Mm.
wisdom that I share is not my own wisdom. I'm no more wise than the average human being. But the information I was given is what I've been sharing. I've been willing to share what I was told in my conversations with God. And I hope that I haven't harmed anyone, that I haven't hurt anyone. I mean well. I tell people, don't necessarily believe what I'm sharing. Just, take it into your own heart. And if it feels true to you, embrace it. If it does not work for you, then throw it out, reject it, tear the book up and throw it away. I don't want people to think that I'm some kind of a guru or spiritual teacher because I simply am not. I'm just an ordinary, everyday person. But I am going to continue sharing the messages that I was given to share because that's what people have asked me to do.
So it sounds so like everything happened so easy. Like it's very very nice, interesting to hear your words. You said one very interesting thing. Um, God is pure love, and they were in a conversation with some others, and they said, "Yes, we all know God is love," but then you said God is pure love, and there's a difference between God is love and God is pure love. Can you tell a bit about this difference? Because it's very amazing.
Yes, well, I think that you're right. Whenever I say God is pure love. People in the audience, somebody will always stand up and say, "Oh, Mr. Walsh, come on. We've been listening to you for 20 minutes for you to tell us that God is love." All the religions of the world teach that God is love. Is that the big revelation? And I have to say to people, no, 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 wait a minute. I didn't say that. I said God is pure love, not just God is love. God is pure love. Now, my friend in the back of the room will say, okay, what's the difference? And I explain. The difference is that pure love needs, expects, requires, and demands nothing in return. Pure love says, I love what I see, not what I get. I don't need to get anything. We don't even love the person on the pillow next to us that way.
Mm.
We have not learned how to love each other without expecting something in return. But that's the big lesson that I received from conversations with God, a definition of pure love, which is who we really are at our basis, but we haven't been raised in a culture that allows us to demonstrate that.
Mm.
But now I live my life in that way. And my present relationship, which I've been blessed by for the past 17 years, my present relationship, I'm married.
Mm.
I tell my wife every day, I don't need or require or ask for anything in return. I love what I see, not what I get. And I mean it. And it's, I'm sure, what's made my relationship as wonderful as it has been for me.
This is so nice to hear. What uh, what can you say to everybody who is in a relationship or doesn't have a relationship about this big sentence, God is pure love? How can we bring it to our life? You said that we didn't learn to put it in our life. That's for most
Well,
people a sentence far beyond or
most people think that love is a transaction, like a trade deal between nations. I'll give you this, you give me that. I'll give you this, you give me that. But if you don't give me what I need you to give me, then I won't give you what you hope to get from me. It's a trade deal. And so we've had to rearrange our understanding of love. Love is not a transaction. If I only love a person because of what I get from them, then I'm not loving them at all. I'm loving me. I'm simply using them as a means, as a way of getting what I want out of life. So I've decided that what's needed in our world is a new idea of what love really is. We need to teach each other that love is not a transaction. It's not like going to the grocery store and you give them some money and they give you some food. It's not a two-way transaction. And so, but we think that it is a transaction because most of the world's religions teach us that God's love for us is a transaction. That if we don't do what God demands, we don't do what God commands, if we don't do what God requires, God will not give us what we hope to get from God after we die, which is to, go back to the spiritual realm and go to heaven. In fact, it's worse than that. Not only will God not give us what we want, God will actually punish us and send us to a place called hell. That's what religions teach us. Many of the world's religions teach that. Most of the world's religions teach some version of that. So we've learned from God that love is a transaction. You do for me what I want you to do for me, and I'll do for you what you want me to do for you. But if you don't do what I need you to do, I won't do what you want me to do. And so we've been acting like God in our own relationships. Because after all, what's good enough for God is good enough for us. But now God said to me, God's most important message to the world: you've got me all wrong. God's relationship with humanity is not transactional. It's not a business deal. It's not a trade deal. It's not a negotiation. It's not a quid pro quo. So take it out of your mind that I only love you if. I love you because you are who you are, a beautiful creation, an individual expression of divinity. And you're all doing the best you can. And you're a very spiritually young species. People on Earth are a very young species. And you simply haven't matured. You haven't evolved spiritually to the point where you could imagine that the highest power in the universe that you call God or Allah or Brahman or Yahweh, you can't believe that the highest power in the universe would love you without needing anything in return. But God said, I do. I do. Which, Felix, is why we say when we marry another person, I do. Do you take this person to be your lawfully wedded spouse? I do. So we say to that person what God says to us, but we think that love is a transaction, and it's not. So that's my understanding, and I'm happy to share my awareness, and I hope I'm right about all of this, because if I'm not accurate, if this is not the truth, then I guess I'm going to hell.
So I remember the scene when you were in television and got asked to tell us in 30 seconds what is the main point God wants, the truth God wants to be heard. And you said, you have got me all wrong, like you did now. That it's so difficult with our mind to understand that pure love without getting something back can work out. So how can it work out? Like you live it with your wife, just pure love, you do not need anything back, and it's working wonderful. Like you're married like 70 years. But in humans' mind, we think, how can it work if we have no deal? So, like, can it work, or is the consciousness of human the not so far enough that we can get it? That's so difficult to understand. How can the world go right if we just get pure love or give pure love? It sounds on one part easy, but on another level it sounds very, hey, how is it possible?
It's only possible if we give up the idea that we need something to be happy. You know, I lived on the street for a year of my life. No house, no place to go to bed. I had to sleep on the ground outside, in the rain, in the cold, in the snow. I had nowhere to use the bathroom. I had no money, no job. I had to go from person to person and asking, please, please, even just a few coins. If I could get a few coins from everybody, maybe by the end of the day, I could actually eat something. Please. So after living a year that way, this wasn't just for a few bad weeks or a couple of bad months. I lived that way for a year.
Wow.
After living that way for a year, I learned how little I need to be happy. And so I learned that need is an illusion. It's the great illusion of humans. And God told me in my conversations with God that the biggest illusion of humans is that need exists. We need nothing in order to be happy. And I learned that after being on the sidewalk, on the street for a year. I learned how little I need to be happy. Now I have a little nice little house. I don't live in a big mansion. I don't live in a big castle, but I have a little nice little modest home. But I have a refrigerator with food in it. And I had a lady across the room who brings me companionship and offers me her love without my demanding it. And so, you know, I even have more than one pair of shoes in my closet. I actually have several pairs of shoes. Wow. So, you know, I'm very clear how little I need to be happy. So that's the answer to your question. How can we make love work perfectly? How can we make pure love work when, when we're so used to getting something in return? By realizing that we need nothing. Now that doesn't mean that we don't desire something, but desire and require are two different things. So there may be things that I desire, but not anything that I require. And that gives my wife the freedom
Mm.
to be who she really is and not to feel that she is required to do certain things or to act in a certain way.
What you say is like, if we come to this point, we have to give up a lot of ideas and beliefs who the most people think and feel. Was it easy for you to give all that up, or was it the life challenged you to give everything up in terms of you got the divorce, you got the lost your job, your health problems, and you go on the street? And then you learned it to accepting it, like let it go. Like you I feel so much inner peace when I talk to you. Uh, this comes from your side, and this peace, uh, was there a point in this year you just say, okay, I let it go. It's okay, I accept it.
Yes, when I was on the street for a year, somewhere around 4 or 5 months into the experience, I let go of the struggle and I allowed myself to realize, if I can just get one meal in my body today, a little bit of food before the end of the day, I'll be happy. And so I learned to move through my life without needing anything, just a little bit of food every day. That's all I wanted to stay alive. And then I could experience the truth of who I am in my life. So, yes, it happened about maybe 4.5 months into my time living on the sidewalk. I let everything go. I let my need disappear. And it has never returned from that time on. I realize how little I need to be happy. But life is not about me being happy.
Mm.
Life is about me experiencing who we really are as individual expressions of the divine,
Mhm.
which is what every master teacher has told us. It's what Jesus said. It's what Buddha said. It's what Muhammad, bless his holy name, said. It's what Moses said. It's what Catherine of Genoa said. It's what Julian of Norwich said. It's what Mother Teresa said. It's what all the wonderful messengers we have heard about, male and female, through the years, they all saying the same thing.
Mm.
So it's really very simple. There's no mystery here.
Sometimes it's very the difficult. I think the difficult is often that the answer is so simple, and to realize or to get it. Okay, can it be so simple? No, it must be more difficult, and we go and search and search, and I think that's a kind of crazy thing. Um, you said in your book there are some in your new book that everybody can talk to God, and you bring some stories of other people talking to God. Uh, do you think, or why do you think it's so necessary right now to bring us in the dialogue with God, the higher self, the universe, and there are many words?
I think it's necessary because of the world the way it is. We live in a very unhappy place. Most people are not happy with the world the way it is. We feel separate from each other. We feel alienated. We even sometimes feel in competition with each other. So the world is not a happy place. Felix, do you know we've had armed conflict? We've had war between people for all but 5% of recorded history.
Mm,
And it's going on even today.
mm,
Here we are in the 21st century. You would think that after 21 centuries, we would at least learn how to disagree without killing each other. But no, no, we still act like savages, like primitive beings who don't
mm,
know how to solve their problems except by killing each other or threatening to kill each other. So the answer to your question, why, is because of the world the way it is. This is not the world I want to leave my children and my grandchildren. Surely we ought to be able to give them a world that's better than the one that we live in today.
So you got a big motivation to bring all the messages out, write new books, uh, go on several places. So it's very nice. I thank you for your work. Um, what is special about your new book? So you have written 90 books, but you're still going on and write new books. What is special about your new book?
I haven't written 90 books.
19,
Uh,
sorry.
oh, 19? Oh, no. Yeah. It sounded like you said you've written 90 books. Yeah. Well, I think what's unusual about the present book is that it was a publisher who asked me to write it. Mostly when authors have a book they write, they try to find a publisher. But publishers don't call people and say, will you write a book for us? But in this case, the first time in my life, I got a call from a publisher and they said, would you please write a book for us? I said, "Yeah, on what subject?" And they said, could you help people to know how they might have their own conversation with God? So I said, okay. And I did. I produced a book which they titled God Talk,
Mm.
the experiences of humanity's interaction with the divine. And in the book, I list 6 steps that allow people to have their own opportunity for a conversation with God. Of course, I have no guarantee. I don't guarantee that it will produce the experience that I had, but I did uh, offer them an opportunity to try these steps to see if it would work for them the way it worked for me. And those 6 steps are outlined in the book. And that's kind of what makes it an interesting new book. And I
Mm.
hope that people find it beneficial to read it.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to read it. Thank you. And your step 3 is define as willingness. So, what does this mean, and what can people do to be willing?
Well, what they can do to be willing is to be willing. But what it means to be willing is to embrace the experience that most people in our culture say does not happen. Even religions teach us that God does not talk to ordinary people. Come on, maybe the Pope, maybe the Archbishop of Canterbury, maybe the chief ulama or the head rabbi, but not people, not ordinary people. God doesn't talk to ordinary people. And religions go further. They actually say that if you tell others that God is talking to you and God is talking through you, you're an apostate, you're a heretic, you're a blasphemer. So we have to be willing. Step 3 in my process was I had to be willing to accept that this was actually happening, even though my culture and my religion tells me that it's not possible and that it's bad if I say that it is happening. I'm a blasphemer. Maybe I am a blasphemer, but not on purpose. I'm just sharing what I was invited to share. I hope that it has brought some people benefit.
I'm sure, like today, I talked to a woman who said to me, not knowing that we are talking today, my first spiritual book was Conversation with God from Neil Donald Walsh. I was very like, very nice. Today we got an interview. So of course you get a lot of people. It's very, very good. And why do you think it's important to share those stories? You shared it and you inspire people to share those stories. And also you mentioned a few stories in your new book. Why it's important? What do you think for sharing our experience with God?
Because it would help us change our world, as I mentioned a moment ago, because it would give us an opportunity to leave our children and our grandchildren a better world than we have created for ourselves. So that's why I invite people to share with others the messages they have received through the writing and through the books, if they feel that the messages have produced benefit
Hmm.
in their lives.
Maybe can you share a story of the book that you remember right now?
I don't talk about the stories in the book because I don't want people to feel that I think that one story is more special than another. But people from around the world sent in, the publisher put an invitation on the internet asking people if you feel that God has intervened in your own life, tell us your story.
Hey, ich danke dir für dein Interesse und für deine Aufmerksamkeit. Schau dir jetzt gerne das Interview komplett kostenfrei, ohne Werbeunterbrechung und ohne Zensur auf funfrieden.de an oder klick einfach auf den Link hier unten in der Beschreibung. Auf YouTube sind wir Gast und wir haben in den letzten Jahren gesehen, was passiert mit Menschen, die eine andere Meinung haben als das große Mainstream-Narrativ. Jetzt ist es so wichtig, dass wir verbunden bleiben, dass wir uns vorbereiten, damit die Zukunft fantastisch wird, damit wir das goldene Zeitalter verwirklichen. Und deswegen komm gerne ins Lichtnetzwerk und erhalte wunderbare Interviews kostenfrei und kostenfreie Webinare und andere Möglichkeiten, wie wir jetzt gemeinsam uns persönlich weiterentwickeln, spirituell weiterentwickeln und unser Bewusstsein erweitern. Also, ich freue mich auf dich. Alles Liebe, bis bald, dein Felix.